Oh, and we are. There you go. And we are now leafing through the pages of Daenerys II from A Storm of Swords, dear listener. Which means that if you have read this chapter until the end, you and I are now 1/3 of the way along Daenerys' entire arc in this novel. 6 chapters in total in ASOS. Which could be read as a novella in and of itself, couldn't it? Some people do that on rereads, actually. And in fact, I think it was released as a separate book, kind of like a sample from A Storm of Swords before the actual novel's release way back in 2000, wasn't it? Or unless it's a false memory, then I can't recall. Anyway, let's get into that. Because last time we read Dany's adventure, she was being French kissed on board of the Pentoshi trading cog, newly renamed Balerion, or kissed on a cruise liner, teen romance. No, not quite. No. The kisser in question being hairy 50-year-old, well, or nearly 50-year-old man, Jorah Mormont. I think he's 47. Daenerys being 14. Yeah, not and Jorah Mormont here in the book, is not quite the charming Yane Glenn from the HBO TV series. Not to mention the smaller age gap between Yane Glenn and oh boy, what's her name? Emilia Clarke, isn't it? I hope this is embarrassing. I think her name is Emily or Emilia Clarke. You know what my problem is? I tend to get all these names mixed up. Emma Thompson, Emily Blunt, Emma Watson, Emilia Clarke, and there's another one, similar name, escapes me now. And I guess it would help this Emilia Clarke, stand out if I sort of had a crush on her, like pretty much every Game of Thrones viewer, but I don't. Yeah, I'm the one person on the planet who doesn't. Sue me, take me to court. Yeah, I'm all about Lena Headey myself. We'll get there. There's no rush. So, the Balerion, which, by the way, isn't just the name of one of King Aegon's dragons, but also the name of a tomcat in King's Landing. If anyone is interested, we will encounter it. Arya has encountered it. Tommen will encounter it. Anyway, the Balerion was on her way to Astapor, you might remember, dear listener, and we can assume we have arrived, because in the chapter's opening, we're no longer on the ship, but in the middle of a plaza of pride, which I guess we can add to the list of something else, as pointed out by, the honest trailers. Hand of the King, Light of the Seven, Brienne of Tarth, Lord of Bones, Lord of Light, Master of Coin, Mother of Dragons, Warrior of Light. I got a whole list here. Bank of Bravos, and so on. Yeah, sorry, I don't do a very good honest trailers dude voice, much as I try. And we get a beautiful description of the fountain in the middle of the plaza square. A monstrosity of a monument, the Harpy of Gis, 20 feet tall, a woman's face, gilded hair, ivory eyes, and pointed ivory teeth. The Harpy, being the symbol of this ancient Giscari empire. Every Giscari people call themselves son of the Harpy, unless they're daughters of the Harpy. The Giscari, which this is an old empire, an old civilization, which had been beaten into submission by Valyria 5,000 years ago. I'm just giving you the cliff notes on that, right now, because the full story is available on the World of Ice and Fire, but we won't linger on that because we're only interested in the transaction Daenerys is going to be involved in right now, which is the purchase of a shiny brand new army of Unsullied, to get back to Westeros via Pentos in style and with more of a, bargaining, more bargaining power. When you have an army, that tends to give you that sort of edge in negotiations and whatnot. And it's funny because she is communicating with this Krasny's Monaclos fella, the unsavory character she is buying the army from, with an interpreter. Krasny's mother tongue being a sort of a corrupted High Valyrian. Even though, unbeknownst to Krasny's, but knownst to us, she understands him perfectly, which enables Dany to understand all the insults this Krasny's guy is leveling at her. This is clever, huh? So imagine you're going to a car dealer looking to buy a 4-wheel, and he starts insulting the shit out of you in a different language, thinking you don't understand him. Yeah, that's kind of like the scenario, sort of. In fact, for example, like when she asks about the troops training, as they're inspecting the troops, he just doubles down. He goes, are all Westerosi pigs so ignorant? All the world knows the Unsullied are masters of spear and shield and short sword. And he keeps walking around, complaining his tokar and gesticulating. The tokar is this outfit, traditional from these parts, and it's described as the most uncomfortable outfit in history, kind of like sort of like it's weird. You have to keep holding it while you walk, which I think is a great example of show don't tell from George R. Martin, because it's kind of like a status symbol. Look at me, I am rich. And I don't have to do any physical labor, so I can totally walk around in this ridiculous outfit. It's weird. Tokar. It will feature prominently in all the chapters to come, set in the Slaver's Bay. The Unsullied, on the other hand, the Unsullied, they're wearing nothing but their spiked bronze caps and a loincloth. Finally, a loincloth, huh? That piece of garment, that brings back memories of those Conan the Barbarian stories. Robert E. Howard would always work a loincloth in his short stories. I used to have a drinking game with those loincloths. Oh, and we get some info on the training of these Unsullied troops, which apparently starts at 5, when they're 5 years of age. And I can only assume goes on for 10 to 15 years, I imagine. It's, of course, a pretty cushy training, the survival rate of a trainee being like 1 out of 3, which isn't so bad, I guess. Oh, my God. And that explains why they, the Unsullied, will do nothing but what they're commanded to do by whoever owns them, For example, right now, they're all 1,000 of them. They're all standing in formation under the scorching sun. They've been there for like 24 hours without food or water. And that's for no reason other than to impress Dany, potential buyer. Because really, no one in their sane mind would want their armies underfed and at risk of sunstroke. As indeed Arstan, a.k.a. Whitebeard, correctly points out. He goes, yeah, that's like the dumbest thing, man. You want your armies to be at your peak, at their peak of their performance, Not under the scorching sun, fainting, underfed. See, Arstan here is kind of like competing for the position of Queen's Counselor. So we learn he's with Daenerys, and they're respecting the troops. Although Arstan doesn't necessarily approve of this, transaction. Krasnys, naturally, he hears Arstan, and I mean, did you think he was going to ignore that comment? No. So he just goes, oi, interpreter. What did he say, that old geezer? He smells a wee-wee, by the way. So the message is translated to Krasnys, and he goes, yeah, well, whatever, mate. It's called obedience, Grandpa. And Arstan goes, oh, yeah, obedience, I've certainly heard of that. You mean like sheep? See, they have this back and forth for a bit. And by the way, are sheep obedient, really? I mean, I'm asking you, dear listener, in the off chance you happen to own one or more. I mean, you take one. Think of one in particular. Like, does she come around when you tell her, get over here, Dolly? Get over here, Dolly. That's a good girl. Sit, roll over, paw. Does she do that? Because from my knowledge, the only reason why they get back into their, allocated space enclosed by fences, which I'm sure has a name. I'm sorry, I didn't grow up in a farm. The only reason they do that is because they're scared shitless of dogs. Sheep dogs, shepherd dogs. Is that what their name? See, yeah, there I go, revealing the extent of my ignorance vis-a-vis farm, day-to-day farm activities. I'm looking quite the fool right now, aren't I? So anyway, sheep. Yeah, I don't think. And besides, Unsullied are more often than not compared to dogs, not to sheep. By Krasnys and whoever else raises similar Unsullied armies down there in Astapor. Anyway, so while Dany continues her inspection, impressed at Krasnys' inclusion and diversity policy, I must say, because the Unsullied, you see, they're from all ethnicities around the continent. And Krasnys goes beyond a random soldier and goes, hey, oi, watch this trick, yeah? Watch. And he whips the hell out of a random soldier's face. Some trick, huh? But it's just to show potential buyers that all the soldier does is simply blink, but it stays in place, it doesn't move, and that's it. That's the trick, really. So Krasnys is loving it. He's just, oh my god. So he goes, yeah. See what I mean? That's what I call discipline. Yeah, old geezer. Want to see it again? Neat trick, huh? And Dany's all like, oh, that won't be necessary, my good man. But she's thinking, what she's really thinking is, yeah, mate, I'll show you a neat trick of my own before long. You'll see, you're gonna end up medium well done. Wink, wink. This is where I shut up, okay? Because I have a no spoiler policy around here. In this series, I will only be looking back and not forward or ahead. But anyway, Krasnys is on a freaking roll. The man is unstoppable. So next thing he does, he performs mastectomy on a soldier. Is it the same soldier, by the way, or a different one? Anyway, I don't care. I don't care because I'm not going to describe it to you. I'm squeamish. There, I said it. I should have no business reading this novel. I'm doing it for you, dear listener. Anyway, so he does that just to show that the soldiers don't even flinch, and then, oh my God, I can't tell you how I felt when I saw that very same scene reproduced, portrayed in the HBO TV series. Oh my God, I'm one of those guys. Oh, I'm not going to watch this. So yeah, and after that, not content with that, Krasnis proceeds to explain that the reason the Unsullied are turned into eunuchs. Oh yeah, that's right. That's what they do to them as well. And the reason being so that there's no temptation of the flesh, as it were. You know, unlike in Westeros, where so many orders demand a vow of chastity, an oath, you know, I shall take no wife, blah, blah, blah. And it's Arstan, again, who chips in. He goes, yeah, sure. Yeah, there's the maesters of the citadel, the septons and septors who serve the seven, the silent sisters of the dead, the King's Guard and the Night's Watch. Notice how he leaves the King's Guard for last, at almost, second last. Just saying. Hashtag just saying. And anyway, the icing on a cake is that at the end of their training, did you ever watch Kingsmen? Kingsmen? Yeah, Kingsmen. The first one with Colin Firth. Super efficient international, efficient. Oh dear, senility. Super efficient international spies, the Kingsmen in the movie. So, and you as a trainee, they have you have to raise a puppy during your entire training. Trainees are given, they're assigned a puppy to raise throughout their entire training. And then just as they're ready to make it into the agency, shall we call it, they're ordered to shoot their puppies. Which I always thought, okay, the order says shoot. It doesn't say, kill. Shoot it in a paw. I mean, yeah, it's still painful. I mean, I wouldn't like it done to me, but at least... But anyway, so why are they ordered to do that? To prove that they have, the right amount of cold detachment. Yeah. Well, Krasnis explains. Yeah, like in the Kingsmen. Yeah, we have a similar program around here. Only after the puppy, we have the next level up, a human infant. Let that sink in. So at the end of their training, I can only picture as they collect their bronze spiked cap. There's like this secretary with the what do you call it, a paperclip, not a paperclip, clipboard type thing that goes, oh, hello, yes, okay, let's see. All right, so you slew your infant. Well done there. Tick. Here's your bronze cap. Next. And I just realized, by the way, that I might have spoiled Kingsmen for you. If you haven't watched it yet, sorry. Although, yeah, I left the best part for, unsaid, unspoken. But yeah, I never said that the no spoiler policy went beyond this book series. All right, so there. My team of lawyers, international lawyers, will certainly back me up on that. The no spoiler policy was complied with. But I think I need your help here, dear listener, because I was thinking about the puppy and the training. And I said at the beginning that an unsullied proper training can last between 10 and 15 years, and I might be completely wrong. But I assume that because as Dany was inspecting the regiment, she noticed that their ages varied, the unsullied, the soldiers' ages varied between 14 and 20. So given that they begin their training at 5, I mean, you do the maths. That because only now are the soldiers considered fully trained. So is that... am I doing the maths calculation correctly? So, which means, the point I'm trying to make is that if you see if you can spot it, there's a point somewhere down there. The puppy they were given at the start will no longer be a puppy by the time they finish their training, right? And some of those puppies might even die of old age. I mean, depending on the breed. Am I getting all my facts all mixed up? I don't know. You tell me. That's where I need your help, dear listener. So anyway, as for the infant, sadly, that's done at the end of their training as a final test. It's all done in one day. Yeah, it's performed. The murderous deed is performed thusly: the unsullied are sent to the slave market to purchase a random infant, and then they're supposed to do the deed right there and then. Imagine that. And as for buying the infant, it's not the mother they buy it from, but the slave owner, who considers the infant, like his own property. So let me turn the page. There you go. So it's it's as bad as that. It's as bad as that. And I think it's time we spend a few words on Astapur's dreadful society, and indeed Slavers Bay society in general. Not a nice place. Astapur itself they're all based on slavery, human misery, and a few, maybe not the 1%, but kind of like the 10% enjoying, the high life, the first life in the first, in first class. Astapur itself is made of red bricks, which it's kind of like a metaphor, isn't it? Which gets scorching hot under the sun. Even the fountain, built of those same red bricks, and it gives out water that smells like brimstone. So hell, basically, for anyone who missed the allegory. And Arstan later on will say, Astapur is built on human misery. Yeah, I told you. Its red bricks are apt symbols of human blood. You'd think it'd be Jorah, right, to say something like that, because Jorah is usually the exposition guy on how ASOS is put together. Khaleesi, the Slavers' Bay, rests upon the Slavers' Sea, and that is where the trading cogs transport human misery and sadness. Khaleesi, it is the way of the world. And then, you would have like maids echoing, it is known, it is known, it is known. Like Donald Duck Street, the nephews, Dewey, Huey, Louie, Wee, what are their names? No, but in this case, it's Arstan who goes, that's, no wonder these bricks are made of, red material. Because blood. And these few rich masters, because there are the slaves, overwhelming majority, and then there are the masters, kind of like the Krasnys being one of them, and he at least provides a service of sorts. I guess because the Unsullied also defend the city, as we will later find out from Jorah, who just bought a Lonely Planet guide to Slavers Bay. Slavers Bay. So the masters like Krasnys, and those are nasty pieces of work, we learn. They call themselves the good masters. The good masters, because they're everything and anything but good. And they love to enjoy life, dining on their terraces in the pyramids. It's kind of like blocks of flats, the pyramids. Up there in the evening, they light their silk lanterns on the terrace. Move along the river, which is called Worm. Move along the river on pleasure barges, playing soft music and calling at the little islands for food and wine and other delights. Oh, this is the life. This is the life that Homer Simpson would say. While the rest of the, shall we call them Astapurines, basically people owned by the so-called good masters toil and suffer in the heat. Yeah, but that kind of reminds me of some places. Some places in a certain Gulf area somewhere with rich small states all, bordering each other. Yeah, there's 10% and then 90%. They're kind of like, the ratio's sort of there. Anyway, no politics here, all right? Right now we are in ASOS, and in ASOS we shall remain. So, yeah, and that is Slavers Bay society in a nutshell. The only variation between city and city along the coast, of Slavers Bay, the only variations we might encounter between one city and the next is the color of the bricks, how there are elements from how would you call it? Oh God, I'm getting lost here. The masters. I think the masters call themselves differently. Like the good masters, the wise masters, the so-so masters, the sexy masters, the fit and lean masters. They all give themselves these beautiful, qualifiers, which they don't usually tend to correspond to what these masters are actually like in what is commonly known and referred to as the real world. The real world, within the novel we are currently reading. Also, the tokar stays the same. What changes here and there is how the harpy is portrayed. I think there are differences there too. Although, as I said, they all consider themselves like descendants from the Giscari, hence, sons of the harpy. But really, just the fact that they speak some bastardized, or what do you call it, corrupted version of High Valyrian suggests that when Valyria kicked Gis's ass 5,000 years prior to this chapter we're reading right now, I think that what they did was they settled, some Valyrians settled there, became the dominant class, top of the food chain, and the original Giscaris were probably made either slaves. They were either enslaved originally or dispersed. Hence giving rise, or would you call it, engendering, creating some sort of Giscari diaspora. Again, the parallels with our world keep on coming. Yeah, even the Tokar really, from I think I read it somewhere. The George R. R. Martin was inspired by ancient Rome. There are, it was kind of like thinking. Because in ancient Rome, one could end up being owned as a slave if one simply could not repay one's debts. Even war veterans. War veterans, are not always treated as as first-class citizens around the world. But even in Rome, there are these stories of this old man who owned nothing and was actually owned as a slave because he couldn't repay his debts, and then he protested at the forum, the Senate, whatever, and he said, is this that he showing his many scars he got in battles, and he said, is this the Rome I fought for? A Rome that allows me, an old man, to be owned like chattel? So yeah, and also let's not forget the tokar. Tokar is also, as I said, a piece of garment that is so long that you have to hold one end of it constantly on one arm, making you look like a waiter or a wine, sommelier, maître d', hello, always with a towel on your forearm, which is indeed what Roman senators wore, isn't it? You call it the toga praetexta, worn by Roman senators. And I'm not even sure whether toga praetexta is the right name for it, so I'll have to maybe send an email to YouTuber Metatron just to find out if I'm right. He's the go-to guy whenever you have doubts about the ancient world, just about ancient Western world, really. Mainly, he's the go-to guy. So anyway, two more things we learn about the Unsullied. A, the reason they feel no pain is because apparently they're on drugs. Or rather, they're given a potion with every meal, which is kind of what makes them immune to physical pain, I guess. It's deadly nightshade, bloodfly larva, black lotus root, and many secret things. Shaken, not stirred, and served with a lemon twist or a glazed cherry, depending on your taste. And B, the second thing we learn is that not only are they not permitted to own anything other than their armor, well, not armor really, but, weapons and the loincloth, Robert E. Howard's loincloth, but they're also stripped of their identities. Think about that, They don't even have names, because apparently names are assigned at random every day, sort of like in rotation. And let me tell you, dear listener, they're not flattering names either. Red Flea, Black Rat, Blue Toad. See the pattern here? Yes, we let you choose your name as long as the first is a collar and the second one is some kind of vermin. White dove, you say? I don't know. Would you settle for grey pigeon? Yeah, a bit grosser. Because you see that the animal has to be gross. Oh, okay, all right, yeah. So that's how it goes. Or gross or insignificant. Red flea. Grey worm we will encounter later. Anyway, Krasnis, just like I imagine you yourself, good listener, Krasnis is getting impatient. Let's get to the point. He goes, he's getting impatient only now, yeah? Because until now he has been super affable, hasn't he? So he goes, so are you interested or not? The minimum purchase is 100. Special discount if you buy 1,000. We have a, seasonal, sale. Weapons, basic clothing, batteries and bronze caps, all included. Not the armor. The armor you'll have to provide yourself. So, what do you say? And Danny is thinking about it, but she turns back to Arstan. She throws the same question back to him, because the cute old man is kind of growing on her. Huh? I don't know if you've noticed, but Arstan, he repeats the same line that we imagine he's been giving her for a while now. He goes, "God's bless you, child. Your grace." You know that the sale, purchase, and ownership of slaves is a huge no-no in the Seven Kingdoms. And you plan to recapture the continent, landing there with an army of slaves? Seriously. Why don't you instead rely on the popularity of your late brother, Rhaegar? Some people in Westeros are still wearing his face on their T-shirts, He's kind of like, he's bigger than Che Guevara in some districts. And then he's all like, "Oh, I see what you mean. You adorable, smelly old man. Oh, and also, let's not forget the popularity of my late father. Huh? What about that?" Yeah, and Arstan is all like, yeah, let's not go there. Why? I don't do a very good Danny, but that's supposed to be... What do you mean? Wasn't he like this super awesome king? Like my brother always told me? Yeah, right, your brother, some reliable source of info, yeah? Yeah, he's almost as awesome as your brother himself, you know? Look, child, sorry, your grace, if you want me to say something positive about Ares, here it is. Yeah, okay, I thought of something. There were many, many years of peace while he reigned. There, okay? He was a peace-loving, mass-murdering psychopath. Okay, dear listener, this dialogue here is not exactly verbatim. Yeah, it's not. I'm paraphrasing it, as you might have noticed. But yeah, that's kind of like the gist. And Arstan, aka Whitebeard, remains uncommitted vis-a-vis Ares, but he certainly does voice his dissent at this whole transaction, you know, disapprovingly tapping his staff, tap, on the ground every time Krasnys does or says something outrageous. And you just picture that, you know, Arstan is really restraining himself from smashing that staff on Krasnys' head. And Krasnys goes, look, mate, make up your mind, guys, yeah? Because I have other offers. Like just the other day, this Corsair King. Is a Corsair kind of like a glorified pirate? Or a pirate leader? And if you're a Corsair King, I guess you outrank a regular Corsair. And he was here just the other day, and he said he said he was really impressed, and he said it'd be back to buy 1,000. At which point the interpreter goes, no, didn't he? Wait, didn't he say 100? Yeah, Krasnys is all like, no, shush, 1,000. He'll be back for 1,000. And this Corsair King will appear again, but no, it's literally just in a throwaway line in A Feast for Crows. I don't know if it will be relevant again later at some point in a yet unpublished book, or if it's just one of hundreds of characters with no screen time, you know, which Mr. Martin sprinkles on his pages just for world building. Anyway, so Daenerys is all like, oh yeah, but I'm a VIP customer myself, you know. Don't you know who I am? Why, I am Daenerys Stormborn, mother of dragons, the unburned, true-born queen of the 7 kingdoms of Westeros, blah 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 blah, yada yada yada. And her list of titles will grow exponentially as we proceed on her story arc, but I guess this is a good time as any to focus on that first title, Stormborn. Because there's this incredibly thorough and well-researched YouTuber, Preston Jacobs, whom I'm sure you've heard of before. But if you haven't checked out his entire, output, content, he builds a very good case against most of the things Daenerys and we readers tend to assume are true about her birth, her childhood, and various other things. And he's created a full playlist dedicated to all those details that may actually be lies, including Daenerys being born during this legendary, devastating storm. You know, the famous lemon tree just outside the house with the red door, where she grew up, ostensibly in Bravos, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, Preston Jacobs, Daenerys and the Page of Lies is the title of this playlist. Go and enjoy. Well, no, I mean, not now. It's, I propose we finish this first, yeah? Are you with me? Okay, then I promise you that I will stay on track with fewer detours and, going off on a tangent. Okay, so Krasnis, I keep going back to it. He remains unimpressed. He goes, look. Okay, yeah, good. Westeros, whatever you are, we started on the wrong foot. How about a date? Huh? I don't mean the fruit, yeah? Just me and you Westerosi slut. What do you say? We lose the old man, a few cocktails, margaritas, pina colada, and, maybe a light dinner, nothing fancy, jellied dog brains, and a fine rich stew of red octopus and unborn puppy. Yummy. These are actual dishes served in the whole Giscari Bay, the Slavers Bay, but for sure they're served. They're considered a delicacy there in Astapor. And yummy. And then we might lick honey off each other's breasts, if that's not too forward, dear Daenerys, if I may call you so. And the interpreter, obviously, Daenerys got more than just the gist of what Krasnis has just said, but since everyone from Krasnis's party assumes that Daenerys doesn't understand High Valyrian or any variations thereof, the interpreter translates. Well, she only translates the decent bits, the polite and the diplomatic bits. And because the interpreter is really smart, and this is a good time. I'm not going to give out the name because the game. Oh my God, the name will be revealed in the next Daenerys chapter, but. But it's a good time to remind ourselves that she is only 10 years old. That's how smart she is. And in fact, in our world, the world that you and I, dear listener, inhabit, she would be considered a genius. Those people who finish a PhD at 12, and Krasny is crass. Oh, I see what you did there, Georgie boy. He's crass. And was that sneeze from, do you think? There's another qualifier. He's crass, he's lazy, he's ignorant. All he knows is cruelty. And he certainly doesn't speak 5+ languages, unlike his 10-year-old interpreter, whom he owns. Yeah, the injustices in the world. Anyway, so gross and crass guy Krasnis comes up with other ideas. He's on a roll. He's on a roll right now. He says, I have more ideas for our date. Why don't we go to the fighting pits? Every city worth its salt on Slavers Bay has a fighting pit somewhere, and a kind of like a coliseum, where we can go and watch a little show, like a matinee. Basically, what they have lately is a bear. This is the show you can watch in the fighting pits. A bear devouring 3 little boys. Simply delightful. At which point, Danny just goes, look, it all sounds charming, yeah? But speaking of bears, my own personal bear, Jorah Mormont, is waiting on the ship and he's eager to eat me too. Georgie boy, you naughty Randy. I mean, what she really says is like, he's gonna eat me if I'm late. But, wink, wink. And of course, Krasny's, he just adds one more lovely quality to his long list of despicable traits. And he goes, I knew it. A man is in charge. He just sends out the wife or whatever as eye candy, but really, there's always a man in charge. I knew it. I've been wasting my time talking to this slut. That's kind of like what he's saying. Little does he know that, no, I mean, she really is a queen. No one has crowned her yet, but if descendants, heredity laws are to be followed, then absolutely. Sorry, I was distracted. I saw a piece of chocolate here. I'll have it later. I was more like one of those DJs who slurps coffee in the microphone. Nah, I don't want to be that guy. That's all right. Let's finish this. It's much more interesting. So anyway, okay. So Dany, the point being that Dany said, okay, look, it's kind of late. Thank you for showing me the army. Very good, very, very, very impressive army. Bada bing, bada boom. But she excuses herself and goes, all right, I'll think about it, yeah? I'll be back for sure. I'll be back. And and they go back to Dany's litter, which is parked on the other side of the plaza. And they so just close this door. It's a bit noisy. Sorry, dear listener. And there's Dany and Whitebeard, because she thinks no, there's no way we're not gonna let a senior citizen walk under this heat, no matter how impressive his physical prowess might still be. So they climb in and they're followed by the ever-present swirl of red dust, which is coming from the bricks. While Jago is about to crack the whip, to disperse the crowds, make way for the litter. But Dany is all like, no, mate, hey, look, these people have been whipped often enough their whole life, okay? We're not gonna add to that, all right? I'm sick of hearing these masters cracking their whip. And Jago's all like, it's the one thing I enjoy doing whenever you're going someplace, It's my thing. Crack the whip and shout, make way for the mother of dragons. It's kind of like in my job description. Yeah, well, mate, some of the time, yeah? Some other place, some other time. Like that song by the Rockets. So they ride through the city, witness a bit more, decadence and whatnot. And for the longest time, no one says a word. They're still under shock. Crassness does have that effect on people, on normal people. Whatever passes for normal in A Song of Ice and Fire. And Arstan's argument is, of course, still the same. Listen, yeah. Wouldn't you be better off hiring a sellsword company? One from Pentos, Tirosh, whatever. Because at least mercenaries have a bit of a choice, whereas soldiers you actually buy like property. Come on, that's not ethical, is it? And Daenerys is like, yeah, well, what do you know about that? What do you know about being bought and sold as property? I will have you know, I was sold to my late hubby for the Targaryen cause, in case you didn't know. Illyrio must have told you that. All right, goes Whitebeard, all right, okay, I get it, I touched a nerve. My bad, I'll shut up. So they all stay silent for a while. They zip up again, and Dany is thinking back on Jorah and the kiss he gave her, and he shouldn't have done that, and how dare he, that's not appropriate. And she thinks about that same night, a little later after the kiss, when she realized that as grossed out as she was by Jorah Mormont, that kiss, nonetheless, had woken something in her. And so you know how it goes, one thing led to another. And in the absence of her late hubby, Drogo, she, how can I put it? She started simulating the experience of an intercourse with Drogo. At which point we are informed that her pubic hair is also the color of silver. I thought I'd put that info out there. And yeah, be it as it may, at the stirring sound that Dany must have been making, her maid Iri woke up going, "Oh, hello, Khaleesi. Oh, I see. I know what you're trying to do. Here, let me help. Because I'm also a bit of an expert myself at this sort of thing. Let me help if you don't mind." And she really went to town on Dany, so much so that they must have heard her throughout the entire Balerion, the ship, and even dragons in the cabin were kind of like a bit alarmed. They go, oh, what's going on here? What is the maid up to? What is she doing? Is she hurting our mum? Huh? Because dragons are unfamiliar with the practice of, I don't think there's any oral sex among the fire-breathing reptilian community. I don't think. Anyway, so the next day, it all felt like a dream. Okay, so there, a bit of the old erotica in this chapter, but. Come on, let's snap out of it, dear listener, because now we're back on the Balerion, and we are there, and we are now no longer, the flashback is over, and so Daenerys, she gets on board, permission to come aboard, and she's first greeted by strong Belwas, who is there, he's feasting on a roast dog, and he goes, "Oh, hello, yum, this is great. Do you want some? You want some?" And Dany's like, nah, mate, no, I don't think so. In fact, I don't think I want to hear about sacrificial dogs being slaughtered, and let alone infants, for as long as I live. You go ahead and enjoy that poodle, and. And as soon as she sees Jorah Mormont, she slaps the hell out of his face. "Nice trick you played on me, dude." You see, she's talking about convincing her, that's the trick, convincing her to go to Astapor and buy a slave army. But really, what she's really thinking about is that kiss, Still. But yeah, this has got a double meaning here, I think. Anyway, she goes on, and now she goes on because you can slap a person's face, but then you might have to justify it. Jorah doesn't go as far as to say, "Oh, what was that for?" But she, even unprompted, she explains, "Yeah, well, I mean, now I've been there, and now it's not like I have a choice, is it? I'm ethically appalled by the whole practice of raising Unsullied. The more I heard about it, the more I was outraged and grossed out. But now it's not like I have a choice. I've been there. I have to buy that sodding army." Krasniss's men having already been aboard of the Balerion in the meantime to, appraise the cargo and sort of calculate how many Unsullied soldiers Team Dany can actually afford, So Daenerys goes back to her cabin, leaving Jorah there on deck, rubbing his cheek and feeling and looking like an idiot while everybody's staring at him. So yeah, she goes back to her cabin, where Iri is all like, "Oh, hi. All right, you're back. You know what? Tell you what, your dragons, they're becoming impossible to handle. They're clawing at the door, trying to escape, spitting fire in the air, biting and all that. They're getting restless, I think they need to get back in touch with their true nature, which is, the nature of a fire-breathing dragon." I'm saying all this, and I'm emphasizing this bit because it's all a great setup or foreshadowing of a payoff that we will see develop in the next chapter, literally. And so they go, So, hello, yeah, so the dragons are getting restless. They want to get in touch with their true nature. And, oh, speaking of getting in touch with one's nature, wink, wink, continues Eerie. Shall I do that trick again, like I did the other night? Because you seem to respond favorably. But Danny's all like, nah, 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 love, nah, nah, nah. Appreciate, but now leave us alone. Leave us alone, me and the dragons. And Eerie complies. She wants to be left alone. Still, Daenerys can't seem to be left alone because Jorah is like immediately back. This really reads like one of those romantic, the trashy, pulpy romantic novels. And Jorah, except it's all deconstructed, really. In case you didn't know. Jorah is immediately back, knock, knock. Who's there? Jorah. Jorah who? Come on, you know me. Okay, but at first, Danny, he walks in and Danny can't even bear looking at him. You see what George did there? She cannot bear looking at him. I don't know if that was the smartest, choice of words in the history of writing. Anyway, this time around, it's okay. Jorah is not there to sexually assault Daenerys, but to speak bluntly. Aha! It is time for blunt speaking, Khaleesi. So he goes, what did you think your ancestor Aegon conquered the continent with what? With a smile, asking politely, playing by the book. He's basically throwing at her the same line that she had used earlier with Arstan, by the way, even though Jorah wouldn't know that at this point. But yeah, Arstan had, no, she had already said that as much to Arstan. When Arstan, in turns, was complaining about the purchase of Unsullied. So he goes, no, look, hey, you'll have to, Khaleesi, if I may call you that, you'll have to get your hands dirty. That's the bottom line, The motto of your house isn't, cotton candy and lollipops. It's blood and fire. So there. And if anything, think about this, yeah? The Unsullied have never done any raping, nor putting a city to the sword, nor even plundering, save at the express command of those who lead them. And that is a verbatim quote from the text, the actual text. So, yeah, big dilemma here, huh? And the chapter continues with some exposition that, I don't know, it seems to me like it's there for no reason other than world building, which is as good a purpose as any. Or rather, more than world building, more like lending more credibility to the world that we're in. Because you tell me, what do you think? Here's how it pans out. Daenerys asks Mormont, speaking of plunder, this city here is so rich, how come it's never been plundered? Because these people look like they've never experienced a single day of foreign occupation in their lives. And they even have a gilded fountain in the middle of a square, which must be a tempting, prize for a roaming army of, I don't know, sellswords, whatever, So Jorah explains, who's supposed to attack this city anyway? The other neighboring cities in Slaver's Bay, do you think those two? Yunkai and Meereen. But those cities are at relative peace with Astapor. For now. Although things might change in Book 5, A Dance with Dragons. You see, Mormont is being very meta right now. So, anyway, so he goes on. And as for roaming armies, where would they carry their plunder to? I mean, we are literally light years away from any civilization. We are surrounded by the Red Waste, remember? I mean, you've been through it. It's no fun. Even with a light luggage, let alone with a 20-foot tall, trying to carry off a 20-foot tall harpy fountain type thing. And Danny's unconvinced. Yeah, all right, what about the Dothraki? She asks. And Jorah says, okay, well, look, the Dothraki, I told you before, didn't I? The Dothraki remember from their own history. They remember their own arses being handed to them by the Unsullied in the past. So I don't think they're likely to challenge them again any time soon. And also, chances are the city pays off the Dothraki, like a regular fee in exchange for being left alone. Sort of like protection money to the mob, which, by the way, is also common practice as well, in Pentos, Norvus, Myr. You know how it goes. At which point she doesn't say anything for a while. He touches her elbow. He's always kind of like trying to hello, turn around, and he calls her Daenerys. To which Dany goes, okay, dude. First of all, boundaries, no touchy, yeah. It's not, and it's your grace to you. Thank you very much. Secondly, you said I'm not like my brother Viserys. Okay, fair enough. Viserys, who couldn't give a flying saucer about human rights. And he would have bought as many slave soldiers as necessary to reconquer Westeros. At whatever cost. But you said I'm not like him. You said I'm more like my other brother, Rhaegar, whom I never knew. Who always did the honorable thing, and this and that, and everybody loved him, and he played the harp. Literally, the cliche stereotype of the warrior poet type guy, and so on and so forth. So if I'm more like him, shouldn't I then, fight valiantly and nobly with an army that chooses to be loyal to me? And not because I own them, ain't it, mate? Which I think is great, Inception. It's seminal. It gives us a great insight into what Daenerys' motivations are, and explains many of her future actions. You'll see. I want to be that person, I don't want to be feared, I want to be loved. I don't want to be Viserys, I want to be Rhaegar. Or at least my perception of what Viserys and Rhaegar are and used to be. And I should be like the late Rhaegar, shouldn't I? Answer me. And the bear, the young, as compared to the old bear, his dad. Back in we'll encounter him later. The youngish bear Jorah Mormont goes, Daenerys, sorry, your grace. Good point. Rhaegar did fight valiantly and nobly and honorably. I can't talk today, and all that, and then he lost and died. Remember? You gotta read Machiavelli, your grace. Sometimes the end justifies the means. And I think, I think Rhaegar, I think he might have been in songs and memories. I think his like prowess as an actual warrior might have been overplayed. We know he trained fiercely the minute he found some strange prophecy in the scrolls, and he decided, okay, I am no longer a bookworm. From now on, I will be a warrior. Yeah, you don't exactly become, maybe a year or two, but he hadn't been training all his life. His adolescence, he spent mostly in libraries. So, and this is my theory, and it just cropped up in my head right now. So I might disagree with my own theory tomorrow. But right now I'm thinking, what if the actual sad truth of the fact was that as popular and as beloved as Rhaegar was as a person, but as an actual warrior, when he met someone who was really made of the stuff warriors are made of, i.e. Robert Baratheon, well, obviously he immediately lost. Thus, thereby revealing that on the actual fighting field, as brave as he was, and as capable attorneys and melees and whatnot, on the actual battlefield, it was mostly a bluff. Sorry if I have offended you. If you're a Rhaegar fan, I didn't mean any offense. It's just something that came up to me, and it is genuinely a question, actually, a question I put to you. Do you think that might be the case, dear listener? I'm prepared to be convinced, swayed. I'm prepared to change my mind if you have a good argument, by all means. And thus, dear listener, ends Daenerys II from A Storm of Swords. Wow, look at that. It took me well over an hour to go over it, but yeah, I think it was worth it. And you say, okay, well, this is a bit of a disappointing, finale, you might think, if you're a first-time reader. But look, this is what, and I'm not the first to point it out, this is definitely a setup chapter. And so keep in mind all of these things, because all of these setups will have a great payoff in the next Daenerys chapter. Feel free to skip directly to that, or to my commentary of that particular chapter, Daenerys 3, or feel free to indeed go to the next, A Storm of Ice and Fire, A Storm of Ice and Fire, oh God, A Storm of Swords chapter, or backwards, or do the things that people do when they enjoy this kind of content, or do none of the above, Feel absolutely free, dear listener. As for me, I personally look forward to talking to you again. And in the meantime, be safe. Ciao.